Today we're starting my new aquarium here, and this will eventually become a kind of a mixed reef aquarium. Right now I've just filled it up with straight RO water, and I'm gonna be adding the salt directly into the tank. It's empty anyway, so I'm gonna blend it in here. We're also gonna have to add some rocks, we're gonna add some sand, and this will be up cycling in no time basically. Okay, let's fire up that return pump and see how it goes. As I said, I'm gonna add the salt directly into the tank here. And this tank is on approximately 63 gallons or 240 liters. And I'm gonna start with dosing for the tank volume. Of course, the sump is gonna add a little bit extra, so we're gonna have to adjust for that later. For this tank, I went for Aquaforest Reef salt. I've been using the Hybrid Pro salt in my nano tank, and I think it works good. Never tried this, but today we're gonna do that. And a nice thing about, at least for the Aquaforest salts, I've only really used Aquaforest though. So anyway, they provide a little scoop here. I'm gonna show that one. You get a little scoop, so you can actually measure out your salt by liters here. So you dose to this level here for 10 liters of RO water. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna count how many of these I pour into the tank, and then we're gonna measure the salinity a little bit later. It is now the next day and I'm at the right salinity level here. It is a little bit cloudy, but to be honest, that is to be expected when blending this amount of brand new salt water. I'm also expecting that we will see more cloudiness. We're gonna add rocks, we're gonna add sand, and we're probably gonna get a bacteria bloom as well. To measure the salinity level, I use a hydrometer, and basically when the water is the right temperature, I have to stop the pumps, of course. I just drop this in, and it is a scale here that shows what salinity level I'm at. So that's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. We're gonna add in some rocks. There's no point in waiting. I just wanna get this going as fast as I can. But before we actually add in rocks, I'm gonna add in some biological media. And these are ceramic balls from Oceans of Life. I actually got these from our store Salty West down in Gothenburg. It is probably our best saltwater shop here in Sweden. And this is actually their own brand. So I'm very happy that they provided me with this bag. And it's also pretty new, so it's gonna be really fun to actually try this. I think this is gonna work absolutely perfect. So I'm gonna rinse these in some RO water. We're gonna drop it in a bag, drop it in the sump, and then we're gonna start adding in some of the first rocks. These are some of the rocks that are going into the tank, and these have been running in RO water for now because these are old live rocks, so they're basically dead now. I just ran them in some RO water to try to get as much of the old dead organics as possible. And this is a pretty big one, pretty massive actually. It's the biggest one I have, so I'm gonna start with that one, and then we're just gonna continue and build our rock work. So Seachem has been kind enough to send me some different stuff here. They sent me 2 bags of sand here. I've got some supplements here. I've got magnesium, I've got calcium, I've got alkalinity, 2 different types of bacteria, some trace elements, and also some amino acids and vitamins that I will be using a little bit forwards when I actually get corals in the tank. Now the next step would be to actually add the sand into the tank, but I did run into a slight issue, and that's actually the first issue I've encountered so far. So what happened is I measured everything in the tank. I measured the magnesium, I measured calcium, and I measured alkalinity. The alkalinity had dropped approximately 1/2 kH or something. So that's a good indicator that the bacteria are actually doing some work in the tank, and that's really good because the water has cleared up really nicely. There was a slight cloudiness for like 2 days or something, so they are really efficient. I added the stability here, and I've been doing it for a week basically. And I also added the pristine here. This is another type of bacteria that breaks down organic waste and stuff. I don't think there's much waste that will be broken down now, but it's good to get the bacteria in there, and there's a small amount of waste inside and on the rocks, of course, so it's still gonna do some work. I measured the nitrates, and the nitrates were up at 1, so it is working. The nitrification is actually working. However, when I measured the phosphates, they were off the charts basically, and that's actually the first issue in this tank. And that is something that needs to be addressed immediately. And when rocks are in a high phosphate environment, they will actually bind the phosphates into the rocks there, or the outer layer that is in contact with the water. And you can take them out, you can dry them, you can store them, and once you put them back in water again, they will release those phosphates into the water column. And that's basically what happened. So I had to address this, and I did that by getting some Phosbond. So this is actually a filter material that binds those phosphates. And I haven't gotten it down enough yet. It is slowly going down. So I'm going to use this for a little while more before actually adding the sand, because I don't think there's a point getting the sand in and potentially get algae or something in the sand. Of course, I am running the tank without the lights for now, but it's better to wait until I get the phosphate levels in check. There's no point in rushing things, and that's something I learned from setting up my old tank. It's better to just let things take its time, and it's a safer bet really. Nothing goes fast in the saltwater world. So if we take a look in the tank here, I've actually added my skimmer here. And the point with doing this is just basically to break it in, because usually it takes maybe a couple of weeks or so before it's actually fully functioning. And as you can see here, there's a lot of micro bubbles going into the actual tank here, and I don't mind that right now because there's nothing in it. So why not just get it going so it's ready for use when I actually need it later. And the point with having it inside the main tank is because I left the water level in the sump here a bit lower now to add the rocks, to add the sand, and then I will actually fill it up to the proper level here. In the sump here I've added some active carbon here really in my little homemade basket here. It works really good. I've installed the ATU system to test that, and that works really well. Over here I have made my own little reactor here where I use the Phosbond, and it's also working really well. I basically took an old jar from some other filter material, drilled some holes and did some tweaks in it. I can show it later how I built this, and I actually just use a power head here to pump water through it, and it seems to be working really well as well. And this is actually quite nice since I try to keep this on a budget, as I said before. So a couple of days more here and this should be ready so I can start adding that sand. now 4 weeks in here, and so far it's looking really good, I have to say. I've raised the level in the sump here to the appropriate level. I've also taken the skimmer down into the sump, and since it's broken in now, it's working as it's supposed to do. Now the parameters in the tank, they are reasonably good. We have a KH of 8.2, we have calcium at 400, and we got the magnesium at 1215. So these are good values. This is what the salt gives me approximately, so I'm gonna stay there and keep it there. Now the phosphates, they are under control. They are down at 0.01, which is very low, and I'm really pleased with that. However, the nitrates are a little bit high. They right now sit at 50 milligrams per liter, so that's a bit high. I mean, it's not disastrous, but I think it's a little bit too high. I wouldn't add in any SPS or so right now. So I am going to fix that, but that's something I'll do in another video. I did, however, add a little bit of silates into the sump here to catch up the ammonium and prevent the nitrates from rising even more. And this is how the tank is looking right now. And as you can see here, I've already added a couple of corals actually. And these are of course easy corals. These are soft corals, so they don't mind a little bit of sways in the tank, and they seem to not be bothered by the nitrates at all here. I've also added a little bit of a cleaning crew in here, so there are a couple of snails here, and these are Trochus histrio snails. So these are actually really good cleaners. They eat the biofilm and prevents nutrients, algae and stuff like that to form in the tank. They also eat some of the diatoms because the tank is currently going through an ugly phase here. And you can actually see on the rocks here, they are a little bit brown, but it is actually starting to disappear. So I think the tank is actually moving through the ugly phase reasonably fast here. I did also add in a huge hermit crab. I got this from a friend, and this is absolutely massive. He has been going around on the bottom here and actually flipped over some of the rocks here, and they are reasonably big, so it's a funny little creature. Let's take a little bit closer look here at the corals. On the left here, I moved my Sinularia from the nano tank in here because I thought it was a little bit too big for the nano tank, so I fragged it and put the big one right here, and it actually seems to do much better in this tank. It's a little bit calmer flow where I put it, so it seems to really like that. I also have a Gorgonia here. This is a kind of a soft coral, but it has a skeleton inside itself. And it seems to do really well where I put it here. Below that I have some Pulsingenia, and this is a nuisance coral for many people, but it is actually a really beautiful coral. I put it here because it's a good spot, it's a little bit calmer, and I will be able to actually see the pulsing of the polyps on this one. And hopefully it will, with time, grow up on the rock and cover the whole side here. I think that can look really, really nice. If we look over to the right of this, we have two small Discosoma mushrooms, or how you should call them. Also an easy coral. I just put them here and they will start moving down the rock, and they will actually drop a little piece of themselves that will grow into a new mushroom, and they will probably cover the whole side of this rock here eventually. I did also put in some neon green GSP here, or green star polyp, and this will pretty fast, I'd say, cover this whole rock here. And this is a coral that I really appreciate. It is a vibrant green color and it grows reasonably fast. It will cover this rock in no time, and since I put it on a single rock like this, it's really easy to keep it in check so it won't spread and take over the whole tank. I've never had a problem with the GSP doing that anyway, so all you have to do is just make sure that it doesn't spread everywhere. It's fairly easy. I can show it in another video if you're interested in that. And yeah, that is pretty much where we're at right now. And it is looking really good. And I've tweaked the streamers a little bit, tried to mimic something like a shallow lagoon or something with some wave movements, and yeah, I'm gonna have to experiment a little bit more, but right now I'm pretty pleased actually. I think it looks really, really good. And don't miss the next video, because I have some animals on the way that is coming and that I will be adding to the tank here very, very soon. So don't miss out on that. And that's pretty much all I had for today, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Until then, I hope you have a good time. See you later.